好同志们，我们都在慌慌烈烈的站起来，站起来。Welcome to the 243rd edition of China Now with your gang of two. Nan Su, who is a senior investigative reporter at the Epoch Times, and yours truly, who once dreamed in Chinese of going to China and help building the country into the modern times, but was dissuaded from doing so by Mao Zedong himself. Thank you, Mao. So, each week, Nansu and I take the news of, by, and from China, and we ask, China now, friend or foe, war or peace? Ni hao, Nansu?
Hey, pretty good. Pretty good, Michael. I think that we can pretty much pin down then the CCP is our enemy. The communist China is our enemy.
And it
unless
will always
somebody,
be until
yeah,
such time
somebody, if somebody say it's not, then call us and then we can make a debate.
Yeah, there you go. And we love debates. So, there are a lot of signs and rumors going around that the end is near for Chairman for Life Xi Jinping. Are there any truth to these rumors? I don't know. That's what we're going to explore later today in the second hour. And we want to know if it is the end of Xi Jinping, or is it, as Mark Twain would say, reports of his demise are greatly exaggerated. That could be. What if, my thought, Nansu, as we're going through all of these rumors and whatnot, is that what if Chairman Xi is doing what Chairman Mao did, which is 100 flowers campaign. Let 100 flowers blossom. And what was the result of that?
Chairman Mao called that transparent conspiracy.
Transparency conspiracy? Wow.
Transparent conspiracy.
Oh, okay, transparent conspiracy. What does he mean by that?
He is openly doing that, but he's played the trick in front of the public.
Yeah.
And who to see who will take the bait.
So what Mao said, let 100 flowers blossom, which is to say, let's have lots of different opinions here and from the public. We love to hear what you have to say. You call in and let us know how you think we should run this country, and we'll take your word for it. Well, more than 100 people posted their comments. Millions did. And it kind of frightened Chairman Mao and the Chinese Communist Party, and they said, well, my goodness, this is getting out of control. So then they had an anti-rightist campaign. What's a rightist, Nansu?
Well, the rightists, the ones who want more freedom, like if you want more freedom of speech, you want your right to make a complaint. It's like it's like a First Amendment. Everything written in the United States First Amendment, that's considered the rightist, right? So they will.
I guess you and I might be rightist then, if that's the case.
They will charge you subversion against the country. And they all charge you a conspiracy of a subversion against the Chinese government.
So
you're in behind the bars.
So when Mao issued the let 100 flowers blossom, people came out and blossomed. And the blossom scared the bleep out of the CCP, so they had an anti-rightist campaign.
And then all the flowers that's blossoming, all
there they were.
All went to jail.
Everybody went to jail. Where have all the flowers gone?
For all the flowers.
Yeah, there you go. So at any rate, maybe that's what Xi Jinping is up to. Do you think?
Well, I don't know. The Xi Jinping has one thing. I think out of everything, the rumor goes around. It goes more and more every day.
Yes.
But one thing I think for sure, he has some health issues. I don't know what kind of disease he has, but people publicly notice that in every communist conference, national meetings, when he's sitting at the front on the stage, in front of everyone has one cup, and he has two
As
cups.
to there it is.
And Xi Jinping is a true believer of traditional herb medicine. So a lot of people guessing, well, maybe he has some health issues, and one cup is just tea, regular tea like what everyone else have, or maybe water, and then the second cup is his herb medicine.
Yeah,
Now, it was just coincidentally there was one foreign media, I forgot which media reporter was there after she drank that cup, the extra cup in front of him, he drank, and after he drank, and he had this painful, uh, it's like a
the
the
expression on his face. Ouch!
expression, right? It's
Ouch!
like
Yeah,
you drink something really bitter, that kind of expression. So and then it was caught on camera.
yeah.
So that's why I think that his health does have some issues. Remember, just I'm not sure if it's the last year, right, or the year before, and he went to the BRIC nation
Right.
summit in South
And
Africa.
didn't give a speech.
Yeah, he didn't give the
Yeah,
speech,
so
and
there's a
he
lot of
had a Secretary
indications.
of Commerce
Yep.
made a speech for him. So when Xi Jinping go visit any other country, he brings everything with him. He brings big team of guards, and then share and chief, chef. I'm sorry, chef. That's cooking only for him, and then a bunch of servants.
Yeah,
He's like a slave owner basically.
there you go. Well,
Yeah, he
we've got
bring
a
every.
lot of stories to go through uh, on that subject later today at the 2 o'clock hour. But we have a few stories in the first hour of what we see happening right here. And we want to pick those up. And maybe I'll start with one arbitrary fines by local government. Do you ever get caught in a speed trap, Nansu?
Hmm.
Where
I don't know what you're
you know what
talking
a
about.
speed trap is? So it's where in small towns they used to set up the police officers would set up a roadblock or a radar trap to catch people driving too fast into their city. That's how they made a lot of their funds for the local government. And that's pretty much what's happening with the local governments in China. They've gone pretty much belly up, uh, investing in new railroad terminals and airports and highways and things. They've been borrowing money to do that. Out of money, nobody's buying their land now. So where are they going to get the money to pay for everything?
Well, fines, right? Or
Fines,
tickets.
exactly. And that's what I meant by that's what a speed trap is. No matter how good you are, they're going to catch you at something. I was one.
Oh yeah, it goes a lot worse than just the speed track for the autos. They
Yes,
actually have speed track for all these electrical bikes. All these
and
bikers, they like young people, they graduate from college, you cannot find a job. It's a common way. It's a very common way for college graduate nowadays, living in China to become a delivery boy. And they just graduate, they don't have money, they buy these electrical bikes, they're just doing the delivery
deliveries. Yeah,
service, yeah, for
try to
food,
make a living.
yeah, make a living, and then oh, Chinese government are going after them big time because you have like uh, in the big city, you probably have like hundreds of thousands of those electrical bikers every day running around, and they got a lot of money by issuing tickets to those bikers. It's
Right.
like you park around place, it's a bike. You park around place, or maybe you make a right turn at a red line, or maybe You try to get through some place just by pushing the electrical bike through a pedestrian way or wherever,
Whatever,
you
it
know,
doesn't matter. They're there
it
and
doesn't
they got
matter.
your eyes
You
on.
got a ticket. You
Yeah.
got a ticket.
Well, according to a Epoch Times piece on the subject, the as China's economy continues to slow and local government finances come under increasing strain, they get their money through what they call a fine-based law enforcement, just like you said. So, under the approach, Chinese Communist Party's local authorities have resorted to frequent clampdowns on traffic violations, business operations with small farmers, small business owners, and ordinary people being the ones that are paying all the fines because they're the ones who are there. So Chinese media reported that in Jiangsu province, a farmer earned just 180 yuan, which was about 25 bucks, from selling uninspected lamb meat, and he was fined 100,000 yuan, which was $13,900, by the CCP State Administration for Market Regulation. So you make 25 bucks and they charge you 17, what is it, pretty close to $14,000. Ouch. There's another one. In Shandong province, one company was allegedly subjected to paying 100 administrative inspections each year from 2021 to 2023. So 100 inspections by the government every year. So that's...
And every inspection, you're charged.
Every inspection, you have to pay off the inspectors, right? And then, let's see here, a nationwide surge in non-tax revenues in 2024. Non-tax income, which is what we're talking about, which includes fines and confiscations, reached 4.473 trillion yuan, which is US 618 billion. Wow, that's throughout the nation. It went up that much, a more than 25% increase over the previous year. So
Yeah, well, usually when people say you're living in a police state, you mean something else. But now it's a creative way to, label China as a police state.
and there really isn't any foreseeable way out for local governments.
Well, then the central government right now, they're issuing this year. I think they're issuing 1.3 trillion long-term government debt. By meaning long-term government debt meaning those debts that's like 20, 30, or 50-year bonds. So this last year was 1 trillion. The year before was 700 what was this 700 billion. So each year they increase 300 billion. So these until you can see that this year it's like 1.3 trillion long-term bonds. It goes up really quick. And what happened is in China, because everything is under central control, so that the local government by law, the local government can collect up to 55% of all the tax, and then the central government collect 45%. Now, but local government got all the job, and all local government need to do all the service, all the job, and the central government doesn't really need to do much, except investing in those state-owned business.
Yeah, they have a lot of thinking to do as well, right?
Well, maybe those, the money can be used to hire a good chef for Xi Jinping, right?
That's the way of it, right? When you're on top, you get the best chefs. So they're in a situation.
So what they do is they will kick back, the central government will then kick back 20% of the 45% that they collect. to the local government. So,
Wow.
and that's the time, the central government, it's uh, got a certain handle to, manipulate to have the local government listen to them, right? Otherwise, you have all the money, you have all the power. You don't.
That's kind of like Donald Trump and Los Angeles right now, because Los Angeles wants money from the federal government, and the federal government wants Los Angeles to behave, and so there you go. Have a little dispute going on, and it's the same thing that can happen in the communist system. Then,
Well, the communists is all about that, right? So that's how they have the local government that you have to listen to the central government. So now, the local government's absolutely out of money, and then the central government have to, they issue one this year 1.3 trillion yen. That's yen. You have to divide
right
by
by
seven,
seven,
So it's basically close to it's 650 billion, I think. It's about 650 billion. So that's what's going on, and that's the way they just started in the few years ago, because they just doing more and more, because they kind of figure out for those long-term bombs like 30 or 50 years, they don't care, it's going to be due long after they die.
just like our federal governments. That there we are, but they seem to be in much deeper hole than we are. China does. And they're also faced with a population collapse that they're going to have a tough time dealing with as well, as are we, I guess. But when we open the gates, people come in. And when China opens the gates, everybody goes out.
Well, the real estate still, it's all about bad stories. I just recently read someone sent a tweet on the internet from China. It's Tianjin. Tianjin, it's a big city near Beijing. It's like Beijing and Tianjin is like a twin city. They're nearby to each other. So Tianjin used to be, enjoying all the real estate booming because they near Beijing, and
Beijing,
also, yeah, also Tianjin has a harbor. It's near ocean, right? And so now there's one guy. He's a new grad. He found a new job. He bought a housing unit. It's just the one bedroom unit. When he bought it, like back into 2021, I'm sorry, 2021, it was about 650 thousand yen.
so
Um,
he borrowed that much money roughly to buy his house.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Had a,
the price is
yeah.
650,000, right? So now he lost job, of course. The economy is in deep trouble, and he trying to sell it. Y- You know, make a guess. What's the current price he offering?
I bet it's down by more than half. I bet, am I close?
He right now he's keeping lowering the price. Right now, nobody's still no offer yet, but the price is 130,000.
Ooh.
From 650,000 to 130,000, still nobody buying.
And,
No
and,
buyer.
and of interest, Nansu, the money that he borrowed to buy the place from the bank is still the money he must pay back.
Of course. Now, of course, China, because it's a state-owned bank, right? Because they know the trouble is all over the place. So they don't want people to walk away. So they have all kind of incentive program to work with you as long as you keep certain amount of payment. So
But if you can make the minimum payment, but if you do, the interest will keep growing and your debt keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, well, we there's still all kind of incentive right now to, because if a bank just let all these people walk away, then the bank will be in much deeper trouble, right?
Wow. Well, Donald Trump has been having some pretty good big wins here the last couple of weeks. Seems like every time you turn on the television, he's got something going. One of the things that he had going was a ceremony in the White House a couple of weeks ago, last week, I guess it was. My goodness. And what was going on was that the Congo and Rwanda, the Trump administration brokered a peace deal between these two countries that have been fighting for 30 years, killing 6 million people. And somehow it came to pass that Donald Trump was able to broker a peace deal with these two countries, these African countries, at a time when everything else was happening. And I remember he had this ceremony in the White House, and all the reporters wanted to talk about, the bombing of Iran or this or that, or this or that. And Donald Trump was saying, this is big too. And this he was referring to was this peace pact between two countries that have been fighting for 30 years. Now, what's significant about these countries, of course, is that they are the source of rare earths. Now, China had captured the Earth's supply of rare earths by
70%.
Yes. What was it, 90?
Well, China produced more than 70% of the entire world's rare earths and process. This is even worse.
Processes.
Actually, China processed more than 90% of the entire world's rare earths, meaning even you find the rare earths anywhere else, you still have to send them to China to get processed because China in 2021 made a new legislation that banned foreign investment to China's rare earth industry and also banned China's rare earth technology to be shared by any foreign nation.
Did you hear also very recently that they issued orders for the people who know how to process rare earths to turn in their passports? You can't go anywhere. We own you. You're not going anywhere. So that's a pretty big deal. I mean, China controls the rare earth industry because it controls a lot of the Central African countries from which these rare earths are extracted.
Well, once they become dominant, they want to become dominant forever. That's why they are going after every different kind of a power in the world. Because they just want to become entirely dominant of the entire world. Now, think about that, just not long ago, a few years ago, we still hear from our naive scientists and engineers. They always talk about, technology without border, AI without border, science without border.
That doesn't
Boy,
take into consideration that China really is not a country with borders. It's a
well, they
maximum
think,
security prison with
they
walls.
think communism is just a different
Yeah.
ideology. And some of them love this ideology, and they think, well, Communist Party is just another political party, like a Democrat, like a Republican, and like a Libertarian. It's just a different party, but they never. What they fail to recognize is the Chinese Communist regime. It's entirely anti-humanity. That's what it is.
Yes. Anti-human.
That's it, inhuman.
Inhuman. So at any rate, how on earth did Trump pull this off? Because now he's marching right into China's rare earth patch and taking over the countries. So how did this work? So the United States have been losing out to Beijing. This is from an Epoch Times article. The United States has been losing out to Beijing in the area of critical minerals, with China currently dominating global supplies, largely due to its control of at least half of Congo's mines. Wow. They own half of Congo's rare earth mines. So the president of the country has been hanging on to power recently, while Rwandan-backed M23 rebels seized control of large swaths of eastern Congo, vowing to oust him and drive out the UN peacekeepers. So they have I wonder who they're the client of this army from Rwanda, who's coming in with to take over half of Congo. And so what are we going to do? So what they did is the president of the Africa USA Business Council wrote to U.S. Secretary Marco Rubio on behalf of the Congolese senator, offering the United States access to minerals in exchange for Washington's help in securing eastern Congo. So the lobby group also asked for an urgent meeting between Trump and their president. So this offer could allow the United States to usurp China, which signed minerals extraction deal with Kinshasa in 2008 and promised to build infrastructure around schools and hospitals across the poverty-stricken country. But it didn't happen, did it? So what happened when China took over the Congo? Did they build those schools? No. They just took over the mines, total control of mines, and didn't do anything for the Congolese people. So they told Epoch Times that the Chinese were never interested in peace in the Congo. They wanted our minerals, and that's it. They wanted complete control of our mines, and they got that. But the rise of Trump has presented the Congo with another alternative, an alternative in which they see the Congolese people winning as well as the American people winning. And in that scenario, the Chinese lose. So that's a pretty spectacular win for Trump. And I don't think...
Well, it's just, it's just the winning of the progress, at least I would say, made by the Trump administration on Panama Canal.
Yep.
Right? That's another key piece of element for our national security of the United States.
And that going to take us to some of your stories that you have cooked up. That one you've been working for quite some time are the ports. How safe is that? Are all the ports being developed by China in the Mediterranean basin?
China actually, this is a part of the report not provided by me. I mean, China controls more than 100 ports all around the world now. The recent, since Panama Canal become a public focus, so CSIS, Center for Strategic and International Study, that's a non-government organization based in the United States, they have recently published a report that they found China actually, through either investment or some sort of a government agreement or whatever, ways they trying to use, they've been successfully controlled total 37 ports around the region of Latin America and Caribbean.
37 ports?
37.
I didn't know there were 37 ports in the Caribbean.
Well, no. Latin America.
Oh, Latin America as well. Okay.
Latin America and Caribbean total.
Okay.
So they control. So I guess, I mean, even we got the control of the two ports that located at each end of Panama Canal. China, through decades of their work and infiltration, they have still able to do something, in that region.
Sounds like they pretty much control it with 37 ports. Wow. That's a pretty incredible one. You had a great story about the Lithuanian Secretary of Defense.
Yes,
Lithuania?
yeah, Lithuanian just signed agreement with Philippines. It's a defense agreement too. I mean, think about this. Uh, on June 25th, that NATO just make announcement that they gave up their office in Tokyo. Now, I'm not sure if anybody still remember that story. Back in May of 2023, just right before the G7 summit in Japan, NATO just went there quietly. In Japan, in Tokyo, they established a so-called liaison office. Now, just because it was just right before the G7 summit. There was a tremendous news all around G7. Uh, so that piece of news it was actually buried.
So NATO snuck in during a storm, right?
Right, right. But actually, it actually immediately drew tremendous attention from China and Russia, and both China and Russia, strongly criticized and against the NATO to establish their office in Japan. So now, it's going on for a couple of years, and unfortunately, we have some European leaders like French President Macron, and he openly against it. So by June 25th of this year, just like about a week ago, NATO publicly made an announcement, said, well, they're not intend to establish a liaison office in Japan anymore. So that office was dropped. And I think Beijing's leader actually feel happy for a few days, and then Lithuanian signed their defense agreement with the Philippines on ammunition, weaponry equipment, as well as I think it's internet security, uh, so cybersecurity. So I think that's like that's not yet reached to the level of it's not yet reached to the level of mutual defense treaty, but it drive to that direction. I think that the Lithuanian and so those Baltic Sea nations, and also the maybe Poland, those small countries who are currently NATO members facing Russia, they really realize that if China start invade Taiwan, the Philippines, or Japan, if there's a war that breaks out in the Western Pacific, United States will be very, very busy dealing their Western Front,
Right.
so that that it will be you'll make all these small countries near Russia become vulnerable, because United States wouldn't have much time and material and resources to help them if Russia take the advantage of the opportunity. So they're coming here. I think it's a good gesture to recognize, although at the same time, French president he's criticized this kind of event, but there are those small NATO nations. They recognize how important to defend the peace in the around South China Sea and in the Western Pacific.
So there is the little country with the big intent on being a
Yep.
pain in the butt
Yep.
to Russia and to China.
Yep.
Wow. Good. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to pick up Nansu's final story, which is, I guess we got them both. Then we get to do his position where we go in the next hour, and that's going to be very interesting. So when we come back, we're going to preview. We're going to start off down the road of hour two and discuss Xi Jinping and all of the rumors, and not only rumors, but heavenly signs that point to him being in big trouble and perhaps not able to hold on, in which case, then what? But maybe not. Maybe what Xi Jinping is doing what Mao Zedong did back in 1956, I think it was, and he started a campaign called the Let 100 Flowers Blossom. And when those flowers blossomed, they were all plucked by the anti-rightist campaign. And maybe that's what Xi Jinping has got up his sleeve. Who knows? That's what we'll chew on when we come back. So please do stay tuned.
About that first impression. Hi, this is Bettina McBee from Bettina's Buzz on SantaCruzVoice.com. And that first impression is my business card created by Dynamic Press. It is my favorite business card. It gets everybody's attention right away. If you want to make a good first impression, get your business cards and any printed media at Dynamic Press. And tell Angelo Bettina sent you.
When your business is on the move, you must find the right place for it to move. Let's ask Matt Shelton, General Manager of J.R. Parrish, the big question. What is the right place to move one's business?
Location, location, location. Sometimes it's rent. Sometimes it's the fact that there aren't that many buildings available to suit you, but mostly it's location of your customers, location of the principals, location of your employees.
Move it to the right place with the help of the power brokers at J.R. Parrish in Santa Cruz.
Hi, I'm Nancy, the tasting room manager at Bargetto Winery in SoCal, where we've been producing award-winning wine since 1933. Our tasting rooms are open daily at our SoCal location at 3535 North Main Street, or in Monterey at 700 Cannery Row. We host weddings, receptions, and special events. Go to bargetto.com to find out more, or call 831-475-2258. There's always something happening at Bargetto Winery.
Cannabis is one of nature's most beneficial plants. Hello, I'm Jenna. Treehouse Dispensary, we use information about cannabis to build community. Listen to Xavier.
Thank you, Jenna. For those suffering joint pain, Treehouse suggests trying a CBD THC topical like the Balance Salve from local Santa Cruz company, Jade Nectar. Then enjoy the relief.
For answers to your cannabis questions, ask your friends at Treehouse Dispensary, 3651 Soquel Drive in Soquel, or ourtreehouse.io.
Welcome back. This is China Now with your gang of two, Nansu, Michael Olson, and you're out there too, so that makes us a gang of three, of course. So, Nansu, before we move on down the Xi Jinping trail there, I picked up this article in the Wall Street Journal that was really fascinating about how China is stealing the youth of Tibet. And,
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they do it all the time. They not just the use of Tibet, but the Uyghurs, any other faith, right? They brainwash you basically. Tibetan, the story about Tibetan is really bad. They force the Tibetans to send their children to the charter schools. Yeah, those things have been going on for years. The same as the Uyghurs.
Right.
So they figure out it's very hard to let the older generation give up their to make an older generation to give up their
can't
their
teach an
culture.
old dog new tricks, right?
Right. Then they just go straight after their kids, and have their kids live in the charter school. They probably give you some good deal to encourage you to go there. Of course, once you get there, they teach you nothing about Tibetan culture. And that's why, you see Tibetans, many of them, in order to have their children and grandchildren to continue their own culture, they want to preserve the culture. You know what they did? They flee Tibet, they flee China, they go to the
India.
Dalansara, where the Dalai Lama is in India.
Yeah, down the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, in India. Well, when you say charter school, it's not really like our charter schools. They're
No,
more. They're more
well, I
like
would say
boot
it's a
camps.
a boarding school.
Yeah,
Okay, like a boarding school, not a charter school. I'm sorry, I take it back. It's more like a boarding school. They basically give you a little good deal, incentive, and also they will force you to send your kids to boarding school that's in tight control of government. So the teachers, all the curriculums, and as well as activities are closely watched by the government. So you got a zero chance to continue to study your own culture, and they are in every way, teach you, they know how to deal with kids, right?
sure.
From
You take them away from their parents,
yeah,
right?
and
Once you get them
from
away
very
from their
young,
parents,
they're teaching their kids against their own culture. That's it.
yeah. So they're really kind of reminds me of going to boot camp. Once you went to boot camp, the outside world kind of faded away to nothing because you had no contact with it. And the only thing you had contact with was the ruling institution and the rest of your boot campees, as it were. And they just teach you, and there's nothing else going on. So
Yeah,
they're
and
stealing. The CCP is literally stealing the youth of Tibet,
yeah.
taking it away. And there's not much anybody can do about it.
Well, that's why then the Tibetan people. You see, Tibetans, Uyghurs, they flee China big time, right? Tibetans, they have different ways. I in the years I see, I've seen, Tibetans, they get out of Tibet. They have to walk those very dangerous mountains like
Yep.
Himalaya, or
Yeah.
those mountains to get out of China. Just like what Dalai Lama did in 1979, I'm sorry, 1959, when he flee China. Oh yeah, there's a recent report about Dalai Lama celebrate his 90 years anniversary, and he said the culture will continue, and then he said whoever after after he ended this life, the next one there's a Tibetan culture how to choose his successor, right?
Right.
So now he said he will not, when he reincarnate, not going to be the when what was his next life? It's not going to be in China. So and he
When
he
he comes back,
assigned.
is someplace else.
Yeah, yeah, it's only outside of China. He specifically say that, right? So then also specifically appointed a nonprofit organization, say, this is the only organization that's going to be in charge of to pick up the next generation Dalai Lama.
Huh.
So there are certain way, there's a certain way when
Sure.
one generation of Dalai Lama pass away, then, they will basically, the story based on what I heard is, depending how he lay down, where his head pointing to, then they're going to send the people going towards that direction and find out all the new births,
Oh.
the new babies that are born,
At that
right
time.
after, the minute he passed away, and
Oh.
then yeah, they will find them. It will sometimes take like decades to find them until they find the one, and then there are certain ways that they will do the test. They'll do the test to verify this is
Yeah, what kind of test would
rebirth
that
of
be?
Dalai Lama or something.
What kind of test would that be?
I heard that there are ways, they will, well, first of all, they will go look for all the candidates, like the newborn, boys, young boys, that's like young babies, and then they will put them together, and then they will teach them to, I don't know, to make them familiar with, like trying to awaken their
The
wherever they,
spirit, yeah, okay.
yes, the bird, and then they will bring bunch of things. For example, I think one thing they play is they will bring bunch of toys or things, like small things, then to let this group of boys to pick which one you like.
I
You
love
know,
it.
among many things, one thing, it's it's the thing that's left by the last generation Dalai Lama.
Oh,
Right, right. So
so you're
I don't,
watching for
you
some.
know, well, I'm not really familiar with the culture, but I pick up here and there. That's
Mhm.
how they do it.
Well,
Uh,
maybe that's pretty much how the Catholics choose a new pope. Don't really know. They're they're hiding out, when they do it, and they have some good incense swinging around, so there's a little bit of cloudiness to the affair, but they do it, and so do the Buddhists of Nepal. And China, when they took over Nepal, really is taking over the Nepalese culture and stealing it, as it were. Now, one of the reasons I heard that China wants Nepal and the control of that area is that it controls a lot of the water that comes out of those mountains down into the Indus Plain and southwest southern part of Asia there. I mean, all the way from the Mekong up to the Indus River, I think it is, in India. So those high mountains control everything, and China is looking at damming them up and stealing that water. That's what I heard.
well, China, what Chinese government try to do is really they want to appoint their own Lama, right?
All right. Okay.
Dalai
So,
Lama is one of the two mainstream religious branch in Tibet. Another one is called Banchan Lama, and you have a Dalai Lama and Banchan Lama. Now, when Dalai Lama flee China, so he got out. That was smart. But another main branch of Tibetan Buddhism, Banchan, the religious leader of that branch, it's Banchan Lama. He didn't get out. So after the last generation of Banchan Lama die, basically Chinese government picked the successor, and
uh,
they raised him from baby,
the
and now,
CCP did.
yeah,
Okay.
CCP did. Now the what goes, what makes the things worse is uh Dalai Lama and Banchan Lama, they have to they in the history they verify each other. So they verify each other.
Mm-hmm.
So when the current Banchan Lama, he was raised by the Chinese government. There are certain things Dalai Lama didn't like. See, but so that's why so he didn't confirm him in the
Oh, really?
process.
Okay. So when you
Yeah,
say
so
confirm, that means that they verify. That means that this is the real deal. This person
right.
is the real.
They need to confirm each other, because that's one of the a part of the process, right? How do you confirm,
Sure.
the Lama, right? So, but Beijing didn't care, right? So they have Banchan Lama, and so they control a part of the Tibetan the Buddhist religion. So now they just want to control another one. That's Dalai Lama because he's 90-year old. That it'd be interesting to see how things are going to play out.
Well, if the Dalai Lama lays down to pass on and his head is pointing north, I guess the Tibetan Buddhists will have to go into China to find a new Dalai Lama, which would be interesting, I guess. What a kid
See
thing.
that in the process of when they try to affirm the Banchan Lama, they actually Dalai Lama actually confirmed another guy, a different, they call it spiritual boy, or that he confirmed another guy, but the China charged that guy, charged the little boy try to separating the country. So put him in jail. He's just a boy. He's a religious leader. To be, he's not yet a religious leader. He's a religious leader to be. He was affirmed by Dalai Lama, but China say that guy uh, 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 committed a separation of the country.
Okay,
That
so
kind of
they're not willing to verify the Dalai Lama.
yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
the deal. So
So they put him in jail. Nobody's seeing him anymore. Never. So nobody knows his whereabouts. But the current Banchan Lama, it was appointed by the Chinese government.
there you go. Wow, that is a pretty good story. Way to go. Now we're going to be looking into the second hour here, and as I mentioned, we're going to take on all rumors that have been swirling around Xi Jinping, and we're going to ask if there any truth to those rumors. But even the biggest thing of all is that even if they're true, we have a major issue. And Nansu told me about his major issue with the fact that the Xi Jinping might go away. And it's an incredibly important thing for us all to consider with the changing of the guard and the CCP. So, going to be a very interesting hour. I promise you'll have a good time tuning in. This is China Now with Nansu, Michael Olson, Independence Day weekend broadcast here. Long weekend. We're all looking forward to it and going to enjoy it. But listen, go out and enjoy Independence Day, but no fireworks. No fireworks. Thank you very much for tuning in. See you in 6 minutes.